Subvert the 2020 election results, and yet Donald Trump seems to be the person having the most impact on the race to take the speaker's gavel in the U.S. House. Republican strategist Tim Rosales and Democratic analyst Ed Emerson with me now live to break down what's happening in the lower chamber of commerce as GOP members try to pick a new speaker. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
So we've had our first floor speaker vote this morning. First, though, I have to ask you both about an issue that will be impacted by the speaker election: aid for Israel as it fights Hamas. That hasn't been able to happen without a speaker. President Biden is headed to Israel later today. Ed, what do you think about that? And America kind of being hamstrung in any effort to do much for this ally of ours because we don't have an elected speaker.
Well, I think the money's there. I think the money for both Ukraine and Israel is there. I think whether or not we end up with Speaker Jordan or Speaker unknown, I think the House is going to push this through. This is important. We know who our allies are. I think President Biden is leading by example, is doing a very courageous, kind of scary, kind of crazy thing, going to Israel in the middle of a war. They're shooting missiles. My own experience has been Air Force One is pretty easy to see about 10 miles away. And that makes me nervous, makes me uncomfortable. But what he's done is he's sort of tied Netanyahu's hands a little bit. Is that if there is an invasion pending, and it sure looks like it from what television news has told us, he's put that on hold for at least a couple of days while he's there. That invasion will hold off. We'll get some major humanitarian aid working, hopefully. I mean, that's the big thing. And then the South Gate in between Israel and Egypt has got to be open to start take the cork out of this massive influx of over 1 million refugees.
All righty, Tim, is this the right time for the president to be going and to have telegraphed that he was going?
Well, I don't want to get into, what should necessarily be the right time for the president. I mean, it's always kind of I think when these types of things happen, a good for the U.S. president to be at the forefront and portray that, to the rest of the world. I think it's important. Certainly, Israel is one of our biggest and most important allies. We have 2 carrier groups that are in the region. So the U.S. military is there responding. We've got the 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit, 2,500 Marines there in the Mediterranean Sea. So the United States is sending a pretty clear message. And I think President Biden's trip underscores that message. The question is will Jordan and Egypt and some of these other countries in the Middle East accept Palestinian refugees who are trying to do what they've been instructed to do, which is to leave the Gaza Strip and leave the, being under the thumb of the Hamas terrorist group so Israel can go in and do what it needs to do, which is eliminate Hamas.
Okay.
Right now, the Jordanians and the Egyptians or any other Arab state doesn't seem to be willing to help out the Palestinians.
Right.
That is a huge problem, but it's also instructive for the rest of the world to show and demonstrate the kind of dynamic that we're dealing with there in the Middle East.
All righty, let's bring it back to Washington. We have had the first floor vote about the next speaker. Jim Jordan of Ohio originally was up against Louisiana's Steve Scalise during the first critical speaker vote among Republicans. Behind closed doors, Scalise emerged and then dropped out. Jordan's back up, but did not make it through this first round. He got about 200 votes. Hakeem Jeffries on the Democrat side got 212. 20 others kind of voted for other people, including Congressman LaMalfa, who voted for McCarthy. Tim, what's going on here?
Well, I mean, on the Democratic side, it's easy to vote for somebody when you're in the minority. So your leader, that's pretty easy. On the Republican side, we're seeing really parlor politics, right? Some of these members of Congress that are in swing districts, marginal seats that will be in competitive elections coming up in 2024 are a little bit nervous about voting for Jim Jordan on first ballot, or maybe even voting for Jim Jordan on, for Speaker. Jordan is head of the House Freedom Caucus and is a little bit more to the right than he is to the center on the issues. And so I think you're seeing some trepidation there. Ultimately, though, I think there will be consensus, within the House, here. And it's interesting to see some of the votes that are still going to McCarthy, although Congressman McCarthy, did come out this weekend and endorse Jim Jordan for Speaker. So it seems there will be a second vote after a meeting with the House Republican Conference, where my guess is there are going to be some pretty straightforward conversations being had.
Yeah. Okay, Ed. So it looks like we're probably going to end up with a Speaker of the House that, kind of was backing the insurrectionists and has not said that he believes that Biden is the legitimate president of this country, that he legitimately won the 2020 election. What is that going to do for us as a country?
Well, it's no Bill Jim. He hasn't passed a bill in 14 years in the House. He's probably the least qualified speaker we will have in the history of this great country. It's naive, I think, to say that the election was stolen. I think that the ship has sailed on that. The evidence is overwhelming. How you can still stand in that position is delusional. So we have a speaker now who is blocked.
Not quite yet. Not quite yet.
Well, yeah, no, I'm hoping. All we need is 10 Republicans to vote for Jeffries, and we'll have a Democratic speaker. That is not going to happen. No. But it's frustrating to sit out here in California where we have such, Democratic majorities and still have problems getting things done. I think the division in the House between the Freedom Caucus and the House Republican Conference and between the Democrats is enormous. It's just going to be gridlock. They're going to fight about everything. Jordan has indicated at one or more occasions that Ukraine aid is sort of on the table. We're talking about that. Those things are going to be stilted. The good news is we only have 1 year of whoever the next speaker is, because next November, the Democrats going to wipe them out.
Maybe. And Tim, just quickly to get your perspective in here, we might soon end up with somebody second in line to the presidency as speaker who denies that the current president is the president.
Third.
Yeah, third in line.
Third in line.
Third in line to the presidency. I think certainly Jim Jordan's made some controversial statements, but as I said, he is more to the right than many in the House Republican Conference. But they're having conversations, and those folks seem to be convinced that Jim Jordan is the person who can lead. And lead the House, and certainly it's the Republicans' prerogative to do that. I do think, again, that's why you're seeing some of these Republicans that are a little bit more centrist, Republicans that tend to be in more swing seats, giving their first vote to someone else, whether it's McCarthy, whether it's Lee Zeldin, another member of Congress. So they still have some convincing to do in order to move all of the Republicans in line with Jim Jordan. So it'll be interesting to get out the popcorn, and we'll see how this plays out in the next few hours, hopefully, or even longer than that.
And we will be checking back in with you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your insight this morning.